Obscure Characters Month continues this week with a dive into the original Transformers comic book, as we take a look at the Autobot leader who just this year received his first ever toy. These are the basics on EMIRATE XAARON. EMIRATE XAARON was an original character created by writer Simon Furman and artist John Stokes for the Transformers comic published in the United Kingdom by Marvel. Introduced in the 1985 story, And There Shall Come, a Leader, published in that year's Transformers Annual, XAARON was one of the High Council who ruled the Autobot city of Iacon at the beginning of the war millions of years ago. A cunning old bot with a knack for persuading others to do what he wanted, XAARON could see that politicians made for poor military leaders, and so convinced his fellow councillors to step down and hand full command of the Autobot army over to the candidate XAARON had personally chosen for the task, Optimus Prime. Now, a lot of the artwork in this strip was heavily referenced from other sources. XAARON, in particular, was inspired by the packaging artwork of the original Megatron toy, sporting his silver three-pronged helmet and golden torso, though differentiated by his unusual mouth design, a sort of three-part slit that became the character's most distinguishing feature. Also, if you're wondering what an emirate is, well, in the comic, it's a Cybertronian political title, but the word's got a different meaning in real life. Rather than a person, an emirate is a territory ruled by a monarch called an emir. It's not clear if its use in the comic was an error. Maybe he should have been called Emir XAARON. Whatever the case, XAARON made the jump to the regular weekly Transformers comic in 1986, in stories that brought the character into the present day. It turned out that after Optimus Prime and Megatron had left Cybertron, most of Iacon's council had surrendered to the Decepticons, but XAARON had refused and fled underground. Over the millennia that followed, he built an Autobot resistance to continue the fight against the Decepticons, his toughest and most trusted fighters being the hard-hitting commando unit, the Wreckers. It was in this role as resistance leader on Cybertron that XAARON made multiple appearances in the comic over the next few years. Notable stories included 1986's Target 2006, in which he served as bait in a trap for the Decepticons, only for the mission to go awry, and for Wrecker leader Impactor to sacrifice his life to save XAARON's own. And 1988's City of Fear saga, which introduced an old colleague of XAARON's from his days in Cybertron's Academy of Science and Technology, the Autobot scientist Flame. Driven mad after being discredited and disgraced when XAARON had spoken out against his dangerous nuclear fission experiments, Flame's vengeful determination to prove his theories threatened to destroy Cybertron in a nuclear fireball, forcing XAARON to risk his life battling his old rival to stop his insane plans. XAARON was never seen to transform in the comic. City of Fear revealed that he hadn't done so in hundreds of years, and that the shock to his system if he tried to do it now after so long could potentially kill him. But many letters were sent in by the comic's readers wanting to know what he turned into, and eventually a fact booklet included with issue number 200 revealed that his alternate mode was a small Cybertronian combat tank. When Simon Furman took over writing the American Transformers comic book in 1989, he introduced XAARON into its pages, though in this series he was coloured solid yellow from head to toe. XAARON played a key role in the comic's final arc, when his body was possessed by the spirit of the Transformers god, Primus, in order to prepare the Autobots and Decepticons for the coming of Primus's ancient enemy, the Dark God, Unicron. When the two gods faced off during Unicron's subsequent attack on Cybertron, Unicron destroyed XAARON, killing Primus along with him. But their death spurred the Transformers to fight back against Unicron and ultimately triumph over him. Now, despite being one of the most significant original characters created for one of the biggest pieces of 1980s Transformers media, Xaaron hasn't gone on to any great fame in other series, with barely any subsequent appearances of note. He wasn't seen again until 2010, when he was introduced into the world of IDW Publishing's comic books, in stories written by longtime Marvel fans Nick Roach and James Roberts. In IDW's universe, Xaaron was reimagined as one of the Autobots' chief legal professionals, who oversaw some of the most infamous trials in Cybertronian history, and he would make some sparse appearances over the next decade as one of the many Transformers who made up the crew of the starship Lost Light. Xaaron would also appear in the new universe introduced when IDW rebooted their comics in 2019, showing up in the 2022 miniseries Tread and Circuits as a politician on the Cybertronian colony world of Velocitron, who oversaw the great race that the people of the speed-obsessed planet used to elect their rulers. And other than a couple of mentions of his name here and there, that's literally it. Similarly, given that one of the most famous things about the character was that he never transformed, it's perhaps no great surprise that Xaaron went a long time without getting a toy. For nearly 4 decades, the closest he got was in 2012, when a set of Wrecker figures was released in the Generations toy line. These 5 bots, Roadbuster, Topspin, Impactor, Whirl, and Twin Twist, could combine into the giant robot Ruination, whose head was sculpted to look like Xaaron, paying homage to Xaaron's connection to the Wreckers in the British comic. But then, in 2024, at long last, a true Xaaron toy was finally released, sold in a 2-pack with the first ever toy of his old enemy Flame as part of the Generations Comic Edition series, a small line of figures themed around the Marvel Comics. Xaaron was a retool and recolor of the 2019 Siege Refractor figure, and just as the UK comic had said, he transformed into a Cybertronian tank. Sort of. Look, it wasn't exactly a convincing vehicle mode, okay? But it's not like anyone was buying a Xaaron toy for the vehicle mode. Plus, all the tank parts were made to be removable, allowing for an even more comic-accurate robot mode. It's a toy that comic fans had every reason to think they'd never get, proving that no matter how obscure the bot, in the world of the Transformers, nothing is impossible. And those are the basics on EMIRATE XAARON. Have you read his classic comic adventures, or was he a mystery to you until now? Leave a comment below. There's one more obscure bot to come this month, but in the meantime, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'll see you in a week for our final episode of the year.